Reserve time.
Alright, hello people, and welcome to the very last day, the very last match here for the Summit 4 China qualifier. It's EHOME versus LGD here on Beyond the Summit 2. I'm Basskip. It's great to be bringing you guys some more Dota action here. EHOME, unfortunately, have been tumbling a little bit since the end of Nanyang. I think their last 5 games have been losses, especially that 3-0 defeat at the hands of Vici Gaming yesterday, but we're going to have to see if they've been able to pick themselves back up and start putting something together for this match up against LGD. LGD, slightly confusing names at the moment, and just so let's get this out of the way right at the very start. This is RTK. So X exclamation mark is RTK, Weapon X is maybe, and MMY is playing under his regular tag. But it looks like we're channeling some extra special Weapon X MMY power in this game, and we'll see if that's going to help LGD out. Getting ourselves over into the draft, still going to be seeing Doom banned out a whole bunch. We got Spirit Breaker Undying removed by LGD, Darkseer. The shot back from EHOME. We're going to get the Queen of Pain and the Dazzle, first two for EHOME here. And LGD are going to get their hands on a Tusk and a Shadow Fiend. So nothing too shocking just yet. I like the Dazzle with the Queen of Pain, just so that the Queen of Pain is a little bit less likely to be forced into an early BKB. It can still happen, of course, if LGD opts for something like a Silencer or someone that's going to be able to reliably jump in and kind of lock down the Dazzle, and they still have enough stuns to deal with the Quap. Then maybe the Queen of Pain is going to be forced into defensive items. But I think I like the Dazzle at least as a little bit of an insurance policy. We've got Gyrocopter and the Visage banned out by EHOME, and I don't know, these bans do feel similar to what they were banning. Well, not what they were banning, but what they were playing against Vici Gaming yesterday. So I do have to wonder if that series is still a little bit on their minds, but they're wasting no time and moving very quickly through this draft. They picked up a Slaughter and a Templar Assassin, so still just looking for that final support. They've got some crazy Roshan potential between the TA and the Slaughter, so should be able to grab that very early on into the game. And I guess that probably just settles their lanes as... well, it could be either the Queen of Pain or the Templar Assassin going on mid against the Shadow Fiend, but I think TA much more near sort of standard mid-hero, and we've actually been seeing a lot of safe lane Queen of Pain of late, so I think that's probably the kind of configuration that we're looking at, especially because it's probably CTY on the Quap.
Reserve time.
And the Quap's actually pretty solid against the Tusk as well, though it looks like LGD are instead going to be having the Clockwork in the off lane, and the Tusk is probably going to be that 4-position hero, so gonna have to see where LGD go from here. Still missing one support and their safe lane hero for Sylar. EHOME are pretty heavy on the physical damage on the whole right now. Queen of Pain, of course, has some pure damage burst, but there isn't really a whole lot that you can do about that, so I do feel like EHOME have worked themselves into a corner a little bit, at least from that perspective of the draft. But what exactly LGD can grab that's going to be solid against that is the question. Someone that can buy a Vlad's and an AC is never going to be a miss against all this minus armor, so you could look at something like a Lycan. Sylar does play a pretty solid Lycan, though it's not necessarily ideal, I think, by any means in this lineup so far, and we might just see them pick up a support here. They don't really have any way to deal with the Templar Assassin all that reliably just yet either, or at least the refraction is going to be a little bit of a nuisance, so I do like the Ancient Apparition from that perspective. Can give the Clockwork a little bit of extra punch moving forward to be able to find pickoffs, and it is nice to have against the Dazzle, though I think the flip side to that is, as much as the Ice Blast is going to prevent, it's going to make it a little bit more difficult for Dazzle to save people in fights. Having Dazzle in your lineup means that people are going to be arriving to most fights completely at full HP, and that you can't really whittle people down with an Ice Blast sort of as they're making their way in. So you do have to really just be landing it in the midst of the fight to be getting the full value. But I like the pickup. Regardless here, it gives them some really good opportunities to move around potentially in the early game and get something done. And it's been a pretty stable hero so far this patch, so nothing too crazy going on here. LGD with the bans on... I really like the bans on the Winter Wyvern and on the Bounty Hunter. We saw yesterday from Vici how much pressure you can put on the mid lane in a bunch of different ways. I think they used the Winter Wyvern from Fenrir very well to put pressure on mid, and I believe we even saw a Bounty Hunter game in the midst of all of that as well. So, and especially given that it is going to... They were probably thinking it was going to maybe be the Shadow Fiend up against the Queen of Pain, and that's already a tough enough matchup, but I do like the fact that they're taking the time to just make sure that the Shadow Fiend has at least a little bit of an alright start. They've got a pretty solid 5-man lineup at the moment. Shadow Fiend can potentially pick up that relatively early mech, start moving around. If the Clockwork has some levels, they can get that crucial pick off into just wailing down some towers. So that's definitely good, but EHOME are no slouches in the early to mid game either, and they're not even 100% reliant on the lanes going all that amazingly, though they should do just fine. Templar Assassin on mid, and the Queen of Pain on the safe lane. It is going to end up being that Lycan ban out from EHOME, so looks like I wasn't too far off the mark with that one. It's a hero that works really nicely in terms of the being able to pick up the Vlads in the AC, can move into the jungle to leave farm for the Ancient Apparition, so that's always going to be nice. And not too squishy either. Has I think it's 3.0 strength growth off the top of my head, so the Lycan can become pretty tanky as the game goes on, but it looks like EHOME not going to afford them that opportunity here, as LGD just end up banning out a Lich. So it looks like they're just continuing to be concerned about the state of these lanes right now and making sure that they get out of the early game relatively unscathed. And EHOME will get a little bit more back in terms of the lanes. They are going to grab the Earthshakers, so not exactly the same as the Lich, but you can block some creeps. You can give your offlane Slardar potentially a nice block to start at the laning phase and help him secure his level 2 right off the bat. So sort of a pseudo-Lich, at least in that way. And instead, LGD will be giving Slark over to Sylar here. So long as he doesn't get bursted, this looks alright. He can always go and hound the Dazzle and potentially the Earthshaker in the backlines, but I do really worry about what happens to this Slark if they start falling behind, because the EHOME damage just ramps up so quickly.
10 seconds
so we'll have to see what ends up happening here.
5 seconds remaining.
Some of it's going to depend on whether or not LGD are going to be able to rotate onto the mid lane and how much they can shut down this Slardar right from the word go, but that's all going to come down to the lanes, and we're going to have to see how that plays out once we actually get underway here. So by way of some introductions, again, this is game 1 of this best of 5. I haven't even talked about the stakes. This is the last ticket available to go to the Summit 4, to go to the LAN playoffs, to compete. And both of these teams have made it extremely far. I think LGD dropped down into the lower bracket right in the very first round of the playoffs, and they've actually fought their way all the way through to get here to the lower bracket final. EHOME, cushier ride, went through the upper bracket, got knocked down by Vici, and now they have one last opportunity to prove themselves, but it does feel, at least from the perspective of just this qualifier, LGD are the team with the momentum on their side. So we're going to have to see if that ends up factoring in as we move ourselves into this game. But over on LGD, we have Weapon X, which is maybe on the Shadow Fiend. We've got DDC on the Ancient Apparition. Sylar is going to be on the Slark. We've got MMY, the real MMY, except no substitutes, on the Tusk. And we've got X, exclamation mark, which is actually RTK on the Clockwork. Meanwhile, for EHOME, 11 is going to be on Slardar, Kaka on Earthshaker, definitely one of his signatures. We've got Lamb on the Dazzle, Old Chicken's going to be on Templar Assassin, and that is going to leave cdec.y, his famous Queen of Pain. So some very strong heroes on both sides, a couple of signatures, the RTK Clockwork, the cdec.y Queen of Pain, and we'll have to see what exactly prevails here. Looks like we are still just waiting on cdec.y. May have been absent towards the end of the draft, perhaps, so still going to be waiting a little bit longer. And right as I say that, there you go. He's going to turn back up. So we're going to keep an eye out for any early TPs, and there is one, in fact, already on MMY, so he's making his way down towards bot. We've got the exact same move from Lamb. Is either team going to see the other? This is what your Radiant Vision looks like. They're going to spot one another. Lamb running in here with a couple of sentries. MMY's got the Observer. They'd both like to place them, but neither one's going to be willing to do it while the other one's watching, so looks like it's just going to be a couple of hits thrown around the place here as the rest of EHOME are now going to start sauntering their way into position. Old Chicken and Kaka down here, and that does mean that LGD will have to be a little bit careful. There are already 2 stuns available. Fisher can come out of the fog, 11 could run in and drop a crush, though. It is just level 1. Meanwhile, over on the top side of the map, cdec.y just going to place down a ward to block out the side pull here. And EHOME, are they even considering settling into position to go for an aggressive tri-lane here, in fact? I mean, for EHOME, they have to know that the laning configuration from LGD is always going to be the Clockwork in the offlane. Whether or not he gets a little bit of help from, say, the Ancient Apparition or the Tusk is the question, but I think the Queen of Pain's going to do just fine against either the solo Clockwork or the dual lane, depending on who comes in. So I actually like this move quite a bit from EHOME. And they still managed to get themselves pretty well established down here on bottom, blocking out all 3 of these camps, in fact. Though it looks like Lamb is going to be wandering away, at least for now. Though he might just be blocking the mid lane and then making his way down towards bottom. Though the same could be said for Kaka. He might just be blocking the off lane and then making his way elsewhere. So we'll just have to see how these lanes settle in, but looks like Lamb is going to be running down towards bot. MMY already coming in for the attempted D wards, but he's not going to find one with this sentry. And what does he have? He's got 1 more sentry to try and unblock a whole bunch of camps. Even if he gets the small camp here, EHOME still blocked out the medium. They're still blocked out the big camp. And I really like this. Well, are they going aggressive? That's the question. I would have really liked the decision to go aggressive because Slark is actually a god-awful laning hero. It's very easy to put pressure on him, but it looks like instead they are just going to be sending the Dazzle up towards top lane, and Kaka's just kind of... he's just floating at the moment. Nothing too crazy going on there. RTK actually in quite a bit of trouble, going to drop down the cogs, but it doesn't help him. Lamb going to keep on right-clicking to get another Shadow Strike off. And that is just going to straight up be the death of RTK. Very easy kill. I don't know if he was expecting the Dazzle to be elsewhere. He probably would not have died to just the Queen. How much damage did Lamb do? Yeah, pretty decent amount. Alright. Oh no, never mind. It doesn't even show up. Stupid fight recap moves. I was interested, but oh well. I'm probably gonna have to reconnect here, guys, but let's see if 11 escapes here. Looks like he does manage to. I don't even know if he... looks like he didn't have to tango through. Did find a gap. Actually gonna come running back in here, but it's just for 1 more slap on DDC. Alright, mid lane going just fine for the Shadow Fiend. Picking up some pretty good CS. Did opt for the Wraithband right at the very start, so... can sometimes be a little bit of a gamble against the Templar Assassin, though a lot of Shadow Fiend players will just go for the Raise level 1 to help secure some initial CS. Kaka's considering the Fisher here. MMY is fairly tanky. There's a couple of creeps here as well. Looks like EHOME are just going to be content to try and drag that back. Ice Shards. Don't know where that's going, but it is going to block out 11 here. Single tango through. He still needs to wait for those shards to break down, but looks like he should be able to grab this regen. Can he keep it up? We'll be able to. Alright. 11 back to full HP. Bringing some creeps along for the ride. Going to be able to drag that back to the tower. And pretty much secure his level 3. Lamb is once again just running around and hitting people, and it's working out for him. Has picked up the point in the Poison Touch. And that is going to drive maybe all the way back. He's already got his bottle on the courier, so not too much damage done, but still pretty successful roaming Dazzle, and definitely not a hero that you kind of expect to be making these kind of moves in the early game. But since it does look like we will have at least a little bit of a lull, I am going to try for a really fast reconnect here, guys, and see if I can smooth out some of these animation issues and stuff like that. So hopefully that helped. Fingers crossed. Looks like it did something, at the very least. Alright, so Lamb's bottom lane now. They're going to leave the cdec.y quap to his own devices. RTK still getting some pretty good CS up in this top lane, already level 4, so despite the death, I don't think he's entirely unhappy with how things have been going so far. 11 comes in, just gonna hit MMY once, not gonna try for the crush or anything too aggressive. Sylar just going for the Dark Pack build, nothing too surprising. Is still gonna need to do some farming this game, and does still really want to get to his level 6, just sitting at 4.5 right now with only boots. Does supports have any regen left? Single tango on the AA, nothing left on MMY. But yeah, I'm not really putting on too much pressure. Got some scrabbling going on for the runes as they pop up. And it is going to be an Invis Earthshaker running over towards mid lane. This could be a little bit dangerous. It was not scouted by the Radiant, I believe. Unless MMY happened to be in the neighborhood. He has run over to mid lane, but I'm not sure what he can actually accomplish here.
The hidden ones grin.
There is a Dire Ward that was just placed over on the hill, and that's going to give vision over onto MMY, so Old Chicken knows exactly what's going on here and should not be caught off guard. Queen of Pain, plenty of mana. RTK's can have to be careful here. He even needs to use it. Now just has enough mana to get the power cogs off. Kako is expecting him to be waiting over in the trees. I don't know if the Radiant Creep Wave has actually spotted him just yet. Looks like it might have. Ping's coming out. Looks like cdec.y has a read on what's going on. Kako gonna come running in. Does he see RTK yet? Now he's gonna spot him out. Body blocking a little bit. Pump fakes the Fissure, but cdec.y too far back. Handling the creep wave right now, so it looks like they're not going to be able to get this kill out of that Earthshaker invis, unfortunately. Old Chicken laying down some traps on the high ground mid, and maybe is going to have to be a little bit careful as a result. But does always have MMY here at the ready for some backup. Dust of Appearance in hand as well. And lots of warding priority given over to the mid lane at the moment by LGD. This ward's just about to fade, but still keeping an eye on what's going on. And both teams kind of the exact same move. Old Chicken wants to know where the Tusk is, and whether there's any potential rotations coming his way, and maybe wants to know if the Earthshaker's in the neighborhood. But both of them just going to keep on farming up. It's actually a slight lead in favor of the Shadow Fiend for the time being. And Kaka's hoping to camp out this haste rune, but unfortunately Old Chicken is pinned under the tower, and it's just going to be Kaka who ends up grabbing this one. Queen of Pain has the Sonic Wave now. Kaka once again with a rotation coming up. Looks for the Fissure block. He's going to get it and jump cdec.y. Looks like this should be the end of RTK here. Drops the cog block down, looking to run away from the quap. Sorry about that, guys. Stream just died. And since there's a delay on the Twitch side, I don't know if it's going to restart buffering that delay, so I don't know if the stream's been down for 2 minutes for you guys now, or if it's only been down for a few seconds. If it's 2 minutes, I'm really sorry. So, still farming up here. He's got his level 6 at the very least, so can afford to trade a little bit of harassment and then back up and heal off the Shadow Dance. MMY is still just chilling mid. There's still a stack of Ancients that were set up a little bit earlier, so Old Chicken hasn't gone over and grabbed that just yet. EHOME have not stacked up their regular neutrals, however, aside from this one medium camp stack over here. And RTK just trying to finish up this level 6 so that you can start moving around. Doesn't have any, well, only has the 1 point up in the battery assault at the moment. This is kind of a RTK classic, the max out rocket flare build. I don't know where he's actually been throwing these rocket flares. Judging by his CS, it looks like he may have just been using them for his own farm for the most part. 11 gonna get snowballed on here, might get caught in by the shards as well, and a couple of raises. Not even needed to drop him, just the one and then a few auto attacks coming in. So slow start for MMY, but is gonna get his team on the board here with that kill. And RTK also able to come in and snag a rune. There's no bottle to be found on this clockwork thus far. And it's actually cdec.y is gonna come in and clean up the remainder of this stack. He's got another Sonic Wave in a few seconds time, so we'll probably see him try and make another move relatively soon. Kaka's just soaking the experience on top lane, but his view of the map is pretty dark right now, and he knows that RTK has the level 6, so needs to be careful of some solo kills and knows that the Kukui is going to push it anyway, though. It looks like cty is going to be stealing the majority of the farm here. So, at least for the time being, it seems like both teams are content to farm. 11's actually doing really well for himself right now. 36 and 5 on this Slardar. The supports have been moving around and kind of chilling out middle lane a decent amount, but this is way more farm than I was expecting to see on the Slardar. And his blink is pretty much guaranteed at this stage. But he has the amplified damage. They can take a Roshan at almost any time between him and the Templar Assassin, though TA's only got the 1 point in meld. And I don't really see him dying before he finishes up this blink. Though as I say that, there is a smoke making its way down bottom, so MMY and maybe may actually find a kill yet here. 11. How scared is he feeling? His view on the map is once again a little bit dark. They see RTK mid lane. They see nobody top lane, and 11. I feel like this is some caster curse going on. There's going to be a snowball coming in. Sylar lands a beautiful pounce, and that is going to be a nice easy kill for LGD as they start pressing their way forward onto this tier 1 tower. No indication from maybe just yet of what kind of item build we're going to be seeing out of him. Shadowblade has been fairly popular as of late, and with the addition of the Slark to the lineup, their game plan isn't actually all that 5-man heavy, so could see something other than the mech coming out this game. They do need to try and abuse this clockwork timing as much as they possibly can, but RTK still plays a really mean clockwork as it gets towards the mid to late stages of the game. I think so long as he can pick up his Force Staff, he's going to be more than fine to still have an impact. So the next little bit is going to be quite telling in terms of what exactly the LGD game plan is going to be here. Looks like cty is just going to be going for an Orchid. No big surprises there. Kaka's still stacking up some Ancients. Is even going to get that one there. So nicely done by him. Sylar in a little bit of trouble. Still has the ultimate. Will be forced to pop it out. 11 looking for another crush, and Sylar realizing that he needs to make his escape here, but he might be running right into an Earthshaker. And the Pounce is still on cooldown for a little bit. Familiar? Not the Familiar. The Courier going to come in as well, but looks like the Slug move speed is going to be enough to get him out safely, and I think Taka just wasn't sure if there was anyone heading over to back up the Slark. Didn't want to get caught out by himself. cty does manage to do some good damage to top tower, but it is just going to end up being denied out by MMY. Old Chicken still has that Ancient farm to get to, and looks like he's just going to be going for the Desolator first, so EHOME still kind of waiting on items before they really want to go and do anything. The Blink Dagger on the Slardar, clear up the Ancient stack, get the Deso, maybe even look towards a Roshan if they can get a pick off with the next Sonic Wave. But it is actually going to be the mech for LGD, so maybe does opt for it, and it looks like LGD are going to be going for this slightly more 5-man oriented game plan. RTK ready to jump in. Actually has a Robo the Mega I picked up as well, so looks like he is going to be picking up a Blade Mail, or is hoping to pick up a Blade Mail relatively early this game. But it is pretty good against the EHOME heroes, so it's just going to depend on these next few towers and these next few engagements as to how quickly he's going to be able to pick it up. And Sarlar's grabbed some early game items as well for his part, so he's ready to participate. The fact that he doesn't have his passive up as he runs over towards mid is going to give him pause. Isn't quite sure who's lurking up here on the high ground for him. So it looks like he's just going to go back to bottom. cty is actually rotated into mid lane, and pretty big commitment from EHOME in terms of the number of heroes that they have here, but they are clearing out the Ancients and finding farm on mid, so this, I don't think this is necessarily as bad as it looks if you're just glancing at the minimap, but LGD want the free tower. There is no glyph, so maybe he's going to pick that one up, and now they're going to snowball in, and the hookshot flies over the top of cty. He gets bursted down by the rays. RTK still in a bit of trouble, but manages to drop down the cogs. Sylar running in. Look to the Pounce. Won't be able to find it. 11 counter-initiating with the Blink Dagger here, but Sylar still has his ultimate available. And now Shadow Fiend comes running in with the Haster and looking for the kill on 11. Looks like he should be able to get it. Lamb's got the Grave, but he's being caught by the Pounce. And looking for the Blink out. No one doing damage to him in the midst of all of that. And Rocket Flare is not going to catch 11 as he just barely scoots back into the fountain. But great initiation between MMY and RTK. And LGD tower, a couple of kills, deny cty the opportunity to do anything in that fight. Even where was Lamb when he got bursted? Must have been a little bit, just a little bit too far away to get the grave off, or may have even been caught by the clockwork hookshot, since RTK hooked across pretty much the entire EHOME team there. That was totally ridiculous. But 3-2 in terms of the overall farm. We're gonna head back into Radiant territory, and we've been there for the last little bit. Experience still pretty neck and neck, though. It is a slight lead in EHOME's favor, and EHOME, the game plan has not changed. They're gonna head straight into the pit and look to pick this one up. It's been scouted by the rocket flare, but I think it's still gonna be extremely fast. Desolator gets delivered. They've got the meld minus armor as well. LGD are running as quickly as they can. They've got the hook available. They're gonna scout this out. Ice Blast is gonna come in as well. This could be big trouble for EHOME. 11's backing up further into the pit. Old Chicken only gonna take a few more auto attacks to finish this, but he doesn't quite grab it. Still manages to get the Aegis. The last hit, however, going to LGD. 11 in trouble, but he's gonna end up being graved. Lamb forced back on the sidelines. Sylar gonna right click him down. 11 manages to get into the fog just inside the pit. Looks like he's actually gonna survive. Will be able to blink out. Sidestepping maybe there. And Old Chicken with the Deso and the Aegis willing to re-engage. cty has already used the Sonic Wave. And Sylar hesitant about re-engaging here. Old Chicken is actually going to end up losing the Aegis and manages to kill 11 on the fringes of the fight with the very edge of that Requiem. Sylar taking big damage. Looks like he is going to fall, but maybe only takes one more auto attack to kill off the Templar Assassin. Still had the mech actually off cooldown through all of that. I don't know if it just cooled down. It could have maybe helped out his buddy Slark, but still going to end up being a great fight for him, picking up especially the random Slardar kill on the very fringes there. That was very strange. He must have just been trying to stick around and jump in and get a crush if the opportunity presented itself, but it's just going to be one more freebie for the Shadow Fiend. And EHOME, they were hoping that Aegis was going to kind of get their game plan back on track, especially when you've gone for this first item Desolator on the Templar Assassin. You really need that Aegis to kind of be able to stand against what LGD have. RTK has been very successful in the last couple of fights, so has his Blade Mail up now. cty still has the blink, but RTK finds him with the hook, and the Ice Blast is going to come flying in as well. Doesn't even need to pop the Blade Mail, more than enough damage to grab that kill. Kaka has managed to find out maybe over in the river, but he pops the mech, pops the wand charges, and he's going to be just fine. 11 now caught out. A couple more auto attacks will finish him, but nice crush. Rocket Flare, however, can't run from RTK. And LGD are going to find 3 very quick kills, and they're not done. Sylar blinks forward, looks for Lamb, manages to sidestep the pounce, but I don't know if he's going to be able to avoid his death here. Does not have a TP. Just going to do a little bit of shopping, but wicked 6 streak picked up for maybe, as LGD continue to charge forward, continue to find kills, and continue to pretty much outright win this game. The Shadow Fiend is having a fantastic time. 3.2k gold on the Shadow Fiend. I think he pretty much emptied his piggy bank for that Yasha a little bit earlier, but he is looking crazy farmed right now. DC also doing pretty well for himself. Gonna right click on the Midas. EHOME, what can they do? They've still got Sonic Wave, they've still got Smokes, they've still got this Blink Dagger on the Slardar. And they can still look for some pickoffs, but they're pretty far behind on the vision game at the moment, and even this ward feels somewhat optimistic for the kind of places that LGD have been taking the fight to EHOME for the last few minutes.
Radiant's middle tower
So we have very quickly climbed up to about a 4k net worth lead in LGD's favor, but we're going to have to hold that thought as EHOME are going for one of those smokes, making their way over towards the mid lane, but he gets dispelled on cty. They're going to look towards the Shadow Fiend first, but he's quite tanky. Lots of wand charges, and in jumps RTK, finds the cogs onto 2. Hardly any damage on maybe. Monster kill streak picked up for him. Kaka's been graved, but he's just going to sit there trying to throw out the Fisher. RTK with the great initiations, and EHOME just smoking right into disaster. All 5 LGD heroes lying in wait. They spotted at the smoke, and Shadow Fiend is just not a hero that you can be jumping at this stage. Has his Manta style picked up now as well, so a little bit more survivability on top of everything. he is not showing signs of stopping anytime soon. cdec.y does have his Orchid now up, so should hopefully be able to find some kind of a solo pick-off somewhere, but again, vision is the real limiting factor here. EHOME didn't even manage to place down any wards. I think they were really expecting the destination of that smoke to be mid, and to catch someone, take the tower, and maybe be able to plant some wards afterwards, but smoke just not going to work out quite the way that they were hoping. Do they still have some smokes available? Not going to be restocking for about a minute. There's none on the courier, though there is one in the inventory of Kaka right now, so another opportunity could line itself up, but LGD do know that this smoke is out on the map. DDC looks like he's going to be the recipient of that first Orchid gank. Soulburn's going to finish him off. RTK comes running in, going to look for this kill. Is he going to drop the... Not going to drop the rock. Not going to drop the hook. Tries for the flare, doesn't spot cdec.y, who's just managed to blink to the side. And cdec.y is not done. Wants one more blink. Can jump forward the silence. Does need to respect the blade mail a little bit. Looks like he's just going to keep dancing around the edges here. I don't know if he can actually... Looks like he's going to go for the kill. RTK not able to get the blade mail off fast enough, and looks like he's just going to leave the soul burn damage to kill him. Drops very low as a result, down to 82 HP. Meanwhile, on the other side of the map, LGD are looking for kills. Maybe with the haster and chases after the Dazzle Lamb. Will not be hit by that ice shards. And that is going to be that for the last little bit. But cdec.y finally starting to get the ball rolling with this Orchid.
Radiant's bottom tower.
Lamb is not actually backed off the base, he's just healing himself with the Shadow Wave, so this Ice Blast is not gonna snipe him out. But cdec.y is gonna be minorly inconvenienced. Runs into the Shadow Fiend mid lane, but there is pretty much nothing he can do about maybe at this stage. Kaka is building up some pretty good farm, so we could see the Blink Dagger out on the Earthshaker before too long. Sylar still just running around with this Blink build for the time being, but starting to pick up some extra farm on top of that. And I guess that is the one saving grace for EHOME at the moment, that this Slark isn't nearly as fast as the Shadow Fiend just yet. Though he is still going to farm pretty quickly with the way that his build is set up right now. Lots of mobility between the Yasha and the Blink Dagger to run around everywhere and grab some farm. Old Chicken actually trying to lay a meld trap at the moment, and it might just work. Kaka can Fisher from the fog, run in with an Echo. They need to wait until he is right on top of Old Chicken. Not even going to wait, however. Old Chicken blinks forward, but can't find it. Looks like it is just going to be a Fisher and a couple of TPs away. Not a whole lot of vision on the Radiant side. They do manage to get up a couple more wards around the place, so... Dire doing a good job setting up there. Oh, maybe just gonna drop the Requiem onto cdec.y. Picked up that Shadow Blade, and that is gonna be the first kill. Grabs the godlike streak. Gonna have to see if he can push that a little bit further soon. Got a couple of rocket flares heading over towards bottom along with the Ice Blast, but Old Chicken is not going to fall for that. Well, they have an idea that the Shadow Fiend is running in, but it's actually going to be EHOME who's caught. Kaka locked inside of the cogs, won't be able to cast a single spell. Lamb very low, and Shadow Fiend just waiting for the grave to wear out. Is going to get his Beyond Godlike streak here. And LGD still just making it look easy. The net worth did stabilize a little bit, so it goes to show when we're just sitting and farming, EHOME can still hold their own, but the Shadow Fiend is still going completely unanswered, and now it's Old Chicken who's in some trouble down on bottom. No defensive items whatsoever. 11 comes jumping in with the crush, but they've already lost the TA, and he's just going to be forced to sprint himself away. And it will be one more tower added to the pile for LGD. Roshan's respawned. I don't know if they're aware of that just yet. Would probably go for it if they knew, but looks like maybe he's keen to grab a few more kills with this Shadow Blade. They have scouted cdec.y, but there is a sentry ward here as well. And looks like they're actually just gonna leave it there. Or, I don't know, maybe cdec.y didn't notice it. But anyway. Looks like LGD have scouted Roche. are gonna head in. The trap is destroyed, and EHOME already know that this is back up, but the question is, can they actually do anything about it? LGD making pretty quick work of this. They don't have a whole lot of vision around the pit, but they do get some rocket flare scouting going on, and it looks like EHOME have no intention whatsoever of battling LGD for this rush, but that means it's going to be a very easy Aegis for maybe here. And he's actually going to be picking up a butterfly before too long. Just needs to farm another 1800 for the talisman. Okay, they jumped the gun a little bit there, so our illusion catches them out. Still something's going EHOME's way. Kaka, does he almost have the blink? Yes he does, but still needs a little bit of time to himself. Got the RTK Force Staff, CTY, finishes his BKB as well, so a couple more items coming out. The Silo's still farming pretty slowly here, by all accounts. Does he have something on the courier? Yes, he does. It's a Manta recipe. CTY jumped in, applying pressure. Can they cancel the TP? They will be able to. MMY with the snowball in. CTY just getting too aggressive and is going to be punished for that. 60 seconds. 60 seconds until he's back on the field, and I think LGD are pretty keen to get at least something out of that. At the very least, Kaka does get his blink dagger up now, and I don't think that this has been spotted just yet by LGD. So that's always good. Is he going to try and solo kill the Ancient Apparition here? Jump. He has 2 enchant totem hits, and that is going to be more than enough to find the kill. Alright, he delays things at least a little bit, but now the question becomes, can he get out of here? If RTK gets the scout with this next flare, he's going to be able to cancel the... Oh, there isn't even a TP. Kaka's just blinked in there. Not scouted on the very edge of the flare, but the frozen sigil is going to be the thing that spots him. He's got another blink, makes his way deeper into the trees, but he's still stuck, and RTK doesn't even need to hook in. They can clear the path with the snowball. Kaka's going to buy himself as much time as he possibly can, but will not be able to get one more blink away. And that's going to be a kill going to MMY, who can actually pick up a blink dagger of his own very soon following that kill. Starlight just wandering around top. Get some information. Sees Lamb, sees 11, has the Manta, so I think feeling pretty safe about all of this. We've got Rocket Flare and the Ice Blast both converging from opposite sides of the map. Silo, however, didn't get the pounce in quite the right place, and now he's in a little bit of trouble. Will be able to jump down onto the low ground, however, and still has the Shadow Dance in reserve. However, CTY blinking in, gonna drop the Orchid down, and he's not going to be able to survive the Soul Burn. Okay, EHOME gets some of their own back. Old Chicken's been pushing top in the meantime. This is all good news. They are at least chewing up a little bit of this Aegis time. Maybe not going to get that Requiem onto Kaka, but MMY sets him up. One more raise finishes the kill. They jump in with 11, but nobody else has actually joined this fight, so he's just going to somewhat awkwardly watch as his tier 2 tower gets plinked away at. Well, Chicken at least makes it a trade, bringing down the tier 2 tower on the top side. Yeah, but MMY and his doppelganger Weapon X running around, setting up more kills beyond godlike. What are we, 12, 0, and 4 now? For maybe. There isn't a Requiem. He's been spotted running towards the Queen of Pain with this Observer Ward, so I strongly doubt that they're going to be able to get a kill. He only barely makes it out, though, as RTK almost gets that hook shot. CTY is really playing with fire with some of these split push moves. But the last few minutes seem like EHOME have kind of stabilized. They are falling behind a little bit further on net worth and experience, but they've managed to get some more vision up around the place, which can be difficult against the Slark. I don't know if there's any signs of a gem for anyone in LGD just yet, though. We may see that before too long. And Butterfly's up for the Shadow Fiend. They've still got another 40, 50 seconds remaining with this Aegis, so I don't know. I think getting rid of the Aegis while trading evenly is a pretty big win for EHOME. They're going to jump in, but the snowball counter initiation here from the Tusk. How quickly can they get everybody else in range? RTK just going to do as much damage as he can with the Blade Mail. Hits the hook across. They don't manage to connect the Ice Blast onto cdec.y, who pops the BKB relatively early. Now it's going to be maybe running in. They're looking for this kill on Old Chicken, but he managed to get himself further away. Sylar getting stunned up by Kaka, but manages to tank through it and pop the Shadow Dance. He's going to go back in here. Needs to be careful. Sonic Wave almost brings him down, and the Scream, in fact, is going to be the thing that finishes him off here. Maybe he's still fighting, but he needs to be careful. This Aegis doesn't have any duration left on it, and it's actually going to drop out of his inventory. Looks like he might be able to escape with the Shadow Blade. He's on the edge of this Sentry Vision, and will just be able to escape. That was very tense. And LGD only going to get the one kill at the conclusion of that fight. 3 for 1. Slark dies another time. And what is that? What is that for Sylar now? 2, 3, and 4. Far from an impressive scoreline this game, unfortunately. It was a good counter initiation from MMY, but just could not get the rest of the team there quite in time to do anything before those two got blown up. I mean, if you look at it from that perspective, with MMY and RTK getting blown off the face of the map almost immediately, then it's just a 1 for 1, but yeah, LGD were just a little bit too far away. Not going to be making that mistake this time around. They are going to be smoking 3 over into the dire jungle, looking for whatever they can find, and it's going to be cdec.y, jump forward, punch. Don't even need much more. Kaka coming in, looking for the Fisher counter initiation, but looks like he's just going to be another kill. They bring the Shadow Fiend into the snowball. Nice force staff away from 11. Would have been enough, but RTK jumps in now with the hook, and Weapon X just going to keep on laying into them. MMY, one more punch, one more kill. Double kill picked up for RTK. And LGD, is this actually high ground? They got creeps pushing in. DDC was dealing with the mid lane. Slarks respawned in the midst of all this. And I think EHOME just getting somewhat caught out by the fact that LGD made such an aggressive move while their Slark was still dead. But Shadow Fiend is more than enough carry for the entire team. And maybe just having a bit of fun. Pump faking the Requiem on the high ground. Making pretty quick work of this tower, and EHOME still have to wait a decent amount of time until they get their initiators back up. 2 seconds on the Earthshaker, 5 seconds on the Slardar. What can they get done here? LGD do need to scatter a little bit, but they're just going to leave maybe on the front lines to right-click down this Rax, and he's going to get it. Manta out and into the Shadow Blade. He's going to escape, and EHOME will not be able to catch anyone as they do end up respawning. They don't need to use the Queen of Pain buyback. cdec.y probably had his finger on that one throughout the entire fight, but couldn't get the catch. Won't be able to get any kills, and well, now Roshan on the agenda for both teams. We do have that gem picked up on DDC that I was talking about a little bit earlier. Sylar starting, well, not to close the gap on maybe in terms of farm, but picking up a few more items here and there. I do wonder what exactly he's going to be looking to pick up. BKB still seems pretty solid by all accounts, but could see him working towards a Scotty. Butterfly, similar to the SF, is still pretty good. We'll see what Sylar's feeling here. And what have we got for Old Chicken? He's picked up a Javelin. Might be picking up a little bit more than that. Might be picking up a Death. Manages to blink himself away. The Refraction doing good work. And Sylar actually getting dragged in with MMY in the snowball. Can they burst the Slark in time? Won't be able to. And now maybe comes in for the assist. Sylar's still working on the back lines, but needs to be careful. They will end up losing the Slardar to the Ice Blast. And maybe he's just cannot be stopped. Lamb, does he have a TP out? No. So it looks like he's just going to be one more kill for LGD here, as maybe continues his rampage. This is just disgusting. And he's now even getting crazy hard to kill because he's just picking up ways to deal with the physical damage. And that's pretty much all EHOME have. Talked about it during the draft. Very right-click dependent between the Slardar and the Templar Assassin. And even the Queen of Pain working towards an AC, it looks like is going to be becoming more of a right-clicker as the game goes on. But they've got more pressing concerns right now. High ground's getting worked away at. Buyback actually coming out of the Dazzle is going to be a bit of a deterrent, but Shadow Fiend's already got an AC. Roshan has not respawned quite yet. Still about another minute to go on that one, but it feels like if LGD managed to get their hands on that, the game is kind of all but over. So EHOME have to really try and just get out of the base, try and put up a bit of vision around the pit if they possibly can, though it is always going to be tough against the Gem and the Slark. LGD will always know if you're keeping eyes on them. It is going to be a basher picked up for the Slark here. So Salah just grabbing a bit more lockdown, cdec.y. 3.6k gold, might be considering just hanging on the buyback here. We'll see if he does decide to buy up. Does anyone on his team actually... No one else on his team has buyback, so... I don't know if his buyback by itself is necessarily all that valuable. And yeah, he's just gonna be buying up here, so no buybacks whatsoever for EHOME in this upcoming fight unless they get a bunch of kills. We've got the AA Ags picked up now. So DDC starting to become pretty monstrous. The only consolation for EHOME isn't quite level 3 Ice Blast just yet, but this smoke means everything for EHOME right now. Can they find something? Can they get the initiation? Maybe he's a little bit off to the side. Tusk is going to come running in with the snowball, buys a few seconds, and now maybe he's going to start laying into everybody. MMY gets dropped very quickly, and Kaka jumps in with a huge Echo Slam. They do finally manage to bring down the Shadow Fiend. Can this open the way for Sylar to do some damage? He's going to Manta his way into the trees, manages to pounce himself a little bit further out. They've only lost the Earthshaker so far, and EHOME, knowing that the Shadow Fiend is dead, are going to look for more RTK. Manages to dodge the stun over in the trees, but he doesn't have a TP scroll, and he doesn't have a way out. He's just going to get right-click down. Sylar re-engaging once again, but the Grave puts an end to his aggression as he's just going to get crushed and brought down. I don't know what he was thinking there. No Shadow Dance, no Manta. DDC also going to get caught. That's the Gem lost. 5 for 1 in favor of EHOME, and finally bringing it back from the brink. And Roshan's actually respawned. They've still got the Slardar. This should be very quick. Yeah, Slardar, AC. Roshan's gonna melt in a matter of seconds. AA is still dead, so no Ice Blast to worry about. Clockwork's still dead, no Rocket Flare to worry about. And that is gonna be Aegis and Cheese being passed over to EHOME. So I think with that, we're pretty much gonna completely even up the net worth. We're probably gonna completely even up the experience. I don't know if I caught... unfortunately did not catch who managed to pick up the kill on the Shadow Fiend, but I don't know. Judging by current golds, actually it might have been the Dazzle. Judging by current gold at the moment, I don't think there's any other way that Lamb ends up with 2.4k there. Though he did participate in pretty much every single kill, but that's going to be a Glimmer Cape for him. They've got the MKB on the Templar Assassin now. And Queen of Pain, well, still just going to sit on her gold for the time being, but could even start to see the beginnings of a Hex coming out onto cdec.y. Maybe he was just a little bit too far off to the side. His team was close, but not close enough. If MMY had been able to blink in and then keep him inside the snowball instead of just picking him up as it rolled over the top, I think that could have been a very different fight, but... It's always the little things. Was he actually just going over to the side shop to buy a HOTD? That's some very unfortunate timing for maybe, but he's still huge. He's still very formidable. Unfortunately, this Sylar Slark is still lagging behind a little bit, and it's EHOME are kind of back in control of this game. They've got yet another smoke ready to go,
Radiant's middle tower,
and they're gonna see if they can start dealing some damage now. I think LGD kind of learning from that last lesson, staying grouped up though. It's only to find a smoke of their own. The line's being drawn by both teams. EHOME are heading over towards the Radiant jungle, and LGD want to head over towards the Dire. Where is this clash going to take place? Looks like neither team actually going to scout one another out. They're both just heading into the opponent's territory. Sylar's the straggler, and looks like he's just going to grab some farm in the meantime. A bunch of random pings coming out, but yeah, neither team has a solid lock on where anybody is right now. And that does kind of work out to be in LGD's favor. They chew up a little bit of time on the Aegis. Sylar manages to grab a bit more farm. So good news on those fronts. The gem is still in the hands of EHOME. Lamb is carrying that one at the moment. 11, sitting on 2.6k right now, so No big spoils from that previous fight just yet, but could see some items coming out before too long. And we've also got a Glimmer Cape picked up on Kaka now. After that last fight, Sylar wants to get some scouting information here if he can. He's got good night vision to Slark, but does need to be careful. EHOME have planted down a ward, ping comes out, but I think EHOME are just playing dumb for the time being. As the mid-range Drax is actually going to fall on the Dire side, as EHOME just claimed this tier 2 bottom. Are they going to go back and defend this? Tier 4s are even taking a bit of chip damage, so looks like cdec.y is going to go back. Deal with that. Still 2 minutes on this Aegis, so maybe time for one more push down mid, but LGD are using their Manta styles pretty effectively to keep these lanes pushed out and deal with the pressure. What else do we got? More items coming up. Solar Crest for the Tusk. Not going to help all that much against the TA, but still decent against the Queen of Pain right click, which is continuing to build up and up as this game goes on. What is the Shadow Fiend going for? Probably just looking towards a Satanic and to start building up some more survivability. Now that EHOME have actually proven that they can kill him in these fights, though. It takes a lot of effort to do so. And Sylar just removing some traps from the Ancients. Needs to be careful. LGD is still just kind of stalling for time right now. TDC, another Midas activation is going to get him pretty close to picking up his level 16. We've still got some items coming up for LGD as well, as RTK manages to grab himself an Aghanim Scepter. It's just going to be a Vlad's for 11.
Middle tower is under attack.
Always nice to have against the Shadow Fiend minus armor, and they're going to add that to the bonuses that they're getting from an AC of their own. The one big surprise factor right now for EHOME has to be cdec.y with this Hex. He's managed to stay in the fog for the time being. LGD have to have a pretty good idea that he has this item, but it still could catch them off guard. And the question for EHOME now becomes, are they going to try and do anything more with this Aegis? But with only 20 seconds remaining on the clock, looks like that's going to be a no. Shadow Fiend has picked up a BKB, looks like ditching his Shadow Blade in the process, in fact selling his Shadow Blade to be able to afford that one. And looks like he's just decided that the biggest factor in that last fight was getting completely locked down and just demolished by the Earthshaker, which I think is a pretty fair assessment, honestly. And it's also going to help a lot against the Hex, potentially. Depends on whether or not cdec.y is able to get in and get the Hex off first. He has revealed his Hex now, clearing out that wave, so LGD should know what's going on. They also know that the Aegis is faded. Dazzle's going to weave up his team. 11 just goes walking into LGD, but maybe his pop the BKB was anticipating a fight, but they didn't manage to cancel the blink. Old Chicken gets caught out. Doesn't have the Aegis, needs to fight, but he's got a lot of backup. Couple of Glimmer Capes. He's also going to be able to blink himself away, and now it's actually maybe who's in a lot of trouble. In comes the Snowball, actually going to save him from that Hex. Old Chicken, now the one getting turned around on. He does have the Grave, he's got some glimmers, but a few more right clicks are going to finish him off on the back lines. Kaka being brought down by the Requiem, maybe still alive, a little bit further over. cdec.y making his escape, but he's getting ticked down by the Ice Blast, and RTK with this hookshot continues the chase. cdec.y does manage to pop the cheese and continue to run, manages to buy a TP scroll, needs to get another blink off, however, but he gets bashed by Sylar and brought down by the right clicks. It looked like it wasn't going to be a great fight from LGD the way that it started, but great individual plays out of MMY. They saved the Shadow Fiend, they turned things around on the Templar Assassin, and RTK as well. I think he cog blocked the Templar Assassin away from the rest of her team, and then also managed to get that secondary catch onto cdec.y, so LGD gonna strut forward. Working on this tier 3, there is still a glyph available for EHOME, but there's no Quap buyback. Remember, she bought up to get that Hex. They buy out on the Templar Assassin, but what can they really do? They already used the Echo, and RTK just going to make some space. Jumping in with the hook. Sylar's now here as well. A couple of dusts pop out, and looks like Kaka will be right-click down the Grave. Saves him for now. 11 comes in, only gets the crush into DDC, and he's getting chased down by the Snowball. EHOME just kiting back towards their tier 4s at the moment, trying to buy time for the Quap to respawn, but Old Chicken gets caught, and he won't be able to escape. Right-click down. And maybe he's not going to end the game with a beyond godlike streak, as Lamb does end up calling the GG, but it is still going to be a win for LGD end of the day. EHOME had that one moment of brilliance as they got that crucial kill on the Shadow Fiend and won the ensuing team fight, but just couldn't quite keep it together at the end there, and it feels like LGD just out-executed them that little bit in every single engagement. So that's going to wrap it up for Game 1, guys, but it is still a best of 5, so make sure that you stick around for the remaining coverage. Only one of these two teams can make their way through into that last qualifier spot, into the main event, over at the Summit 4. So